written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm Bill Cook, the General Manager, and welcome to our fourth installment of the Viewpoint Lake Q&A sessions. Before we get started, why don't we go ahead and go around and introduce everybody so that everybody knows who everybody is. So I guess I'll start by far right. Yeah.
Chris Herring, the Director of Operations.
Mike Whipper, the Director of Buildings and Infrastructure.
Corey Severson, the lake contractor.
Lon White, Pacific Aquascape.
Brian Duthu, Director of Golf and Grounds.
Kevin McCurdy, Director of Finance.
Okay, so everybody probably now can see that the lake is draining, right? Unfortunately, but fortunately, I guess, we are getting rain, so it's kind of slowing the progress down a little bit, but you know, I think we're still on track, and Corey will certainly get into that. You'll notice that the deterioration of the current liner, right? So you can see all around the edges there, you can see that it's pretty much completely torn away from the wall, and you know, that's obviously driving a lot of our leakage. So we'll probably end up seeing more of that as the lake drains. The fish were removed, so those of you that are here or have been here over the last month, you saw that progress, so Corey will give some details on that. I thought that was pretty cool. Individual homeowner meetings are underway, so some of you have already gone through those. I want to thank those of you who have scheduled those and have gone through those. I especially want to appreciate the cooperation. I've been on 9 or 10 of those so far, and it's been very amicable. I know these are trying times with you guys and your view of the lake and such, and some removal of docks and things like that, and you guys have been very amicable, and we really do appreciate that. We do still have some homeowners, okay, that have not set up meetings. And so we have, a phone number to PAI to go ahead and set those up. So, we're going to start making phone calls next week to those that have not set up meetings. But I would ask that, you maybe do some digging with your neighbors if you happen to see them and just say, hey, did you guys set up your homeowner meeting? And if they say no, then, kind of urge them to do such, especially those that may have some older docks or may have some plants or foliage that are along the wall there. So we want to make sure that we get face-to-face meetings with everybody that we can, okay? So as we progress and as we see and have these homeowner meetings and we really can get more in-depth into what the current conditions are at each home, we are finding that some of the trees that we had looked at just out in the water when PAI was going through and assessing lots, that there are some roots that can extend out 8 to 10 feet, and we're seeing that start to impact the current wall. So we're seeing cracking based on some of the root systems in some of the trees. So what we're trying to do is we obviously want to limit the amount of impact to the new wall. And so we've hired, or we're going to hire a professional tree person or arborist to come out and give us an assessment of trees and how each different type of tree can impact the new wall. So there's going to be some setbacks that we're going to try and implement as we refill the lake based on what the professionals say with respect to some of the trees and some of the foliage. So what we would ask is that right now, and not that you're planning on doing that, but we would ask that you not plant anything near the wall area. You can obviously plant stuff that's 20 feet and further away, But until we actually find out what that setback should be, we ask that you don't do that. And so with that, I'm going to pass it on to Corey, and he's going to give you some more details.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you've seen activity out there and seen us get started. So we, right after, kind of just recap where we're at, right after the 4th of July, we took the community dock off of its anchorage to land, and we floated it around the corner, and we picked it up at the boat ramp, and we've moved the community dock out. We've also removed all of the floating fountains. They're all out of the lake. The fence has been installed so that we have a chain link fence and then that orange construction safety fence around to prevent entry into the lake area and the construction area, so that all went up. We started lake draining on the 5th, when really what lake draining encompassed was stop filling the lake. So on the 5th of July was the day that the no water from the groundwater well is going into the lake. Since then, the lake has dropped as of Tuesday this week, which we monitor the lake on a weekly basis, and as of Tuesday, it had dropped 4.75 feet. And we had anticipated and estimated that that was going to be closer to 7 feet, is where we had thought, with no rain. And so the rain events have, in July and in August, have slowed the draining process. But the goal was always to get as much water out of the lake as we could in the peak evaporation period, which was the July-August timeframe. And so, we've got that jump on it. At the current rate that we see things going down, if there was no significant rainfall event, we think that the lake would be drained by the last week of September sometime, is where we think it will go to zero. And what happens is as the lake goes down, it gets more difficult to remove. Right now, it's the top part of the water was relatively easy because we were able to continue to irrigate the golf course directly from the lake. That has now stopped, and so we have we've had to we need to now transfer water from the lake back to the golf course, and that's where we're at, and we're working through that right now. But so the way our schedule was built and what we communicated with RCSC was that we thought we would have the lake completely drained by October 21st is the way that our original schedule that we submitted at the time we started the job, and as we worked through plan development, and we're still holding that date as the date in our schedule is October 21 when it's drained, and we're hoping that it's now closer to early October, and we'll see how the rain goes. That's going to be that's the wild card. So we've also had fish removal. That happened, we reached a point on the 1st of August where we got the lake low enough that the nets would be most effective. And so there were boats in the water, if any of you watched that, and they were here for about 10 days. They were here from the 1st through the 9th. And they basically pulled nets through the lake system to catch fish, and then the fish were transferred to Desert Harbor Lake. Round numbers was 2,000 fish and around 3,000 pounds. And there was a wide variety of largemouth bass and bluegill and sunfish and a couple kinds of carp, tilapia, and channel catfish is what they reported. And one of them was pretty good size. I don't remember how big he said, but it's a pretty good sized fish. So that's not all of the fish. There's still more fish. The goal was to get the bulk of the fish out. As the lake drops lower, we will have to corral the last fish as it gets closer to the bottom. And we'll do that again with nets, and that'll probably happen here sometime later in the month that we'll get the last of the fish out. Haven't had really any issues with any of the waterfowl at this point, or any of the turtles, so that work's all continuing. We've made temporary modifications at Lakes West Golf Course, where we built a temporary berm to increase the storage in the lake that's on hole 3. That's the last lake before water used to come to Viewpoint. So we've cut the water off that goes to Viewpoint. We built a temporary berm. That berm allows us to store more water on the golf course, which allows us to effectively manage how the golf course is irrigated from a much smaller body of water. We've installed temporary pumping equipment. That equipment's operable and running and pumping water, and so that transfer is taking place, and we're still working through that. So we're working with the Lakes West Golf Course team to get that kind of dialed in, but that's happening. That work's in place. We installed the temporary plug, and I don't know, that was just a week ago? Yeah, so we installed we had a diver in and we put a plug inside the wet well, so there is no connection now between the Viewpoint Lake and the pump station. So the only way to irrigate is to pull water directly from the well down to the lake on hole 3, or for us to pump water back from the lake, which is what we're in the process of doing, and how we'll get rid of the rest of the water. We've also had the homeowner assessment packages. They went out somewhere in the middle of July. I don't remember the exact date. I don't have it written down. You guys all have those, hopefully, and we've conducted 35 meetings, I think. 35, yeah, 35 meetings is what my notes say. And so, you know, in our minds, we have a priority to those meetings, and some of them are, you know, very important to us. And so, as Bill said, we really are encouraging everybody, and we want to have the meeting with you so that we're clear on the work that's going to take place in your yards. And we have time to do this. It's not a rush, but, you know, there's plenty of you, and we just want to get it scheduled, and we want to get through it. So the sooner the better on that. Permit is kind of my last update. We do not have the actual permit from the county yet. We need that before we physically start demolition. And it's all processed. It's all in their queue. They are very do everything electronically now, and it's almost impossible to get a hold of a person and get somebody to call you back and talk to anybody. We have had one online meeting where we worked through their comments and their questions. We believe everything's kind of in the queue, and as we look online and we look at the status, it appears it's ready to issue, but we don't have an explanation of why it's not issued, and we can't seem to get one. So we're working on that, and we continue to work on that. We had thought we'd have it by now. And so that's kind of where we're at. We're going to continue to monitor and drain the lake, and we're going to continue to evaluate what we see. As Bill mentioned, we were a little bit surprised by some of the root damage we were able to see coming from trees that were, in our minds, you know, far away from the lake, you know, at 8 to 10 feet away. And so clearly the roots are seeking out the water that was available to them in the lake, and that's why we have worked out and to get this arborist on board to figure out what's going to happen as we cut that off and we change the water pattern for some of these trees. Is that going to be a problem? And we want everybody to be aware of what that issue is and what's going on, because we don't want that to be a problem, you know, a year from now or 2 years from now. So we want to really kind of work through that, and that's going to, we weren't able to get anybody out here until after I think the 6th of September is when that's going to start to happen. So that's where we're at. And Lon, did I miss anything work-wise?
No.
Okay. All right. Bill?
I think the bottom line is that we're still in line with, you know, finishing, you know, by September of next year. You know, we changed the drainage plan, so that actually gave us kind of an extra 30 days. So even though we're getting more rain, it's not severely impacting the total schedule. So right now, you know, we're still looking like we're on schedule. So with that, then I'll open it up to the floor for questions. What? Come on. You guys have that? handy, the phone number?
Jones number?
It's on the bottom of the letter.
Yeah, I know, but is it Jones number? I think it is. 714-481-0655. Repeat, 714-481-0655. Need it again?
Yeah, you can go up to the podium.
When Len came out to our house, we discussed this, but I thought I'd bring it up in front of the group. For those of us that need to replace fence or plants or decking, it would be nice if we had a list of some approved contractors that we could use for some of those services, that maybe if we present, like, there's 25 homes that need new fences, this is the rate we can give you if you all do it at the same time, where we maybe get a better price. Being fairly new to the Sun City community, the hardest thing about changing tribes is getting your new people, getting your handyman, getting your plumber, getting your electrician, getting your handyman. And so to have, I know from where I moved from, it was an absolute female dog trying to get someone to do a metal fence. So to have people that we could select from, being given a list of recommended contractors would be nice.
Yeah, I guess I would prefer not to do that, only because if, for whatever reason, that contractor doesn't fulfill what you're trying to do, I don't want to be on the hook to say, hey, you suggested this person, and then I'd rather have you do the due diligence, get 2 or 3 out there, get the best pricing that you can, and then, because every scenario is going to be different as well.
And I recommend you wouldn't want to do one person, but I would think it would be like a physician recommending, oh, you need an orthopedist, here's 3 or 4 names.
Right.
But just a request.
Okay. Brian?
If I may, I believe Showa on their website has a list of trusted vendors that do work in Sun City, and that might be a good resource for you.
And to kind of jump in, I've been on some of the homeowner meetings with Lon, who's basically at all of them, and I thought I would reach out to some of our contractors to see if that would be something they would be interested in. But I don't foresee a batch job of 25 working very well. I think it has to be a one-on-one coordinated with the homeowner. But I might be able to throw a name into the added contractors list that Showa has, but I haven't approached our contractors that we work with, the small contractors that we work with yet.
Okay, good. Yep, come on up so that everybody can hear your question.
I am not biologist, but I have some thought about make the lake more natural, and have you considered install in the lake some water vegetation as reeds or water lilies, so it make more natural and it's work as water filter and protection for and hiding place for the fish.
Well, so we do already have fish habitats. I think there's 20 that we're aware of, and we are going to rebuild those fish habitats. Now, with respect to vegetation and such, that takes time and effort and labor to maintain that, and at this point, we have no plan to add any vegetation to the lake, because quite honestly, I don't know what that would do to the pH balances and those types of things. So
in natural it's help.
Yeah.
If natural lake,
right,
it's clean it and gives them food and all kind of beneficial, more variety.
Well, you can see we had 3,000 pounds of fish removed. So the current environment was clearly something that was very conducive to the fish.
All time murky, you can see it. It's not. If you go to natural lake, it's clean, it's transparent. But
Yeah.
in here, and it's water lily and reeds make it more pleasant for
I think our lake is actually fairly clear at this point,
but-
so.
no, but,
We use that water quite a bit. We, through irrigation, the reuse of the water actually
But if
really
you
helps
put-
purify the
you
water.
just check how deep you can see down.
Yeah.
But if you put this,
Yeah, I don't know that we'll ever get to the point where it's like, Lake Tahoe or something like that where you can see to the bottom. I don't know that, I have not seen any lakes, man-made lakes that are like that, but we're going to continue and do what was successful. I mean, we had 50 years of use out of that, and it's been very successful in
I
terms of
just
the
saw,
fish.
if you go to biological parks, and they make these artificial lakes.
Yeah.
They all time have this.
Yeah, and we have the lagoons too, which are actually very nice for people to go.
Lagoon is nice, but
Yeah,
everything else, it's empty. It's just big tab. You cannot see. If
Well,
you get,
the lake is really was designed for irrigation. I mean, that was really the intent of the lake is for irrigation, and I think it's actually quite nice.
I just would find some professional advice. Maybe they tell us more beneficial, how much work is needed for maintenance.
And we actually have somebody on staff, not on staff, but we hired somebody who comes in, what is it, once a month? Comes in and does, takes a look at the water pH values and make sure that the fish,
but
are not
do they
impacted. So we have somebody that we actually pay.
But they did consider put some vegetation as reeds and.
No, I mean, and that would be a big expense too. That's a 33-acre lake. So at this point, we're going to continue with what we found success with at this point. So
Okay.
I appreciate the comments.
No, but I just look. I go to these
Right.
parks, and I saw they all time have this.
Right.
Because they looks beautiful. These water lilies.
And that's why we have the lagoons, for people to enjoy, that type of atmosphere where there's a lot more vegetation.
And if I go for fishing very often, I just stay near the reeds, and you have more
Yeah,
fish
and
there.
then the fishermen would be mad at me because they'd be losing their lures in the reeds, right?
I don't
I'm a
know.
fisherman, I understand that.
But I have more fish near the reeds because they're hiding there.
Right.
So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yep, come on up.
First, thank you for the number, because that seemed to be missing on the information.
The number,
The phone number.
oh, the phone
To
number,
make the
yes.
call.
Well, we did send it out, but yes, so yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah.
My property has 3 comments on it. One is the dock. Who will be responsible for removing the encroaching section of the docks?
So I'm not familiar with your exact property, but we are responsible for removing and replacing the dock back to its, reinstalling the dock, thank you,
Okay, because...
to its original state.
Oh, okay.
We have not met with you yet?
Say it again?
We have not met with you yet on your?
No.
Okay. Well, so, yeah, if you get that set up, then we're those are the issues we want to address with you. But we want to do it specifically looking at your dock so that we
Gotcha.
can.
Yeah, because it's modular.
Right, because we need to be clear with you in terms of what if we have an issue with your dock, we want you to understand what the issue
Yeah, sure,
is.
yeah.
Right, so that's why we want to meet with you.
And did you get a packet from us?
No, it's sort of been passed around,
So we've emailed them
On
and
the
we've
lake.
sent them to, directly to your home. So you should have received both, either an
No.
email, okay.
No.
You have not. So if you want,
I
after
got this from a neighbor.
Okay, because the packets specifically show a picture of your lot and addresses
That
the
I got
specific.
from a neighbor.
For your lot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's okay. That's
Okay. So you have your packet, though, is where we're at. Because if you don't, we can get it to you.
No, I mean, I'll get an update when we meet.
Okay, very good.
Then the other thing that is on here is the removal of pavers along the wall, okay? It's not a paver, it's a slip-form concrete curb. Would you guys be taking that when you take the wall?
If it's attached to the wall, yeah, that's how it's going to, if it's somehow mechanically attached to the wall.
I just want to know, should I be getting rid of it, or?
Well, so we're going to be demolishing the concrete wall. If what you, again, Lon will look at it with you when you get there, but if what you
Okay,
have
then that's
is
fine.
attached to the wall, then most likely it makes sense for us to demolish it.
Okay, and that's fine. I'm just trying to get an idea of who's responsible
Yeah, if
for
you
what,
can-
because I could get started on some of
If you
this.
can remove it, if you think you can remove it and remove it without damaging it, then I
Oh,
would
no.
encourage you, it's.
No,
okay, it's
we would
attached.
want to demolish.
Oh, okay.
Right, 'cause we're-
And you
we're-
can discuss
Yeah.
that with Lon. We've had those discussions with people, and they say, just get rid of it, and that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
But our intention is to look at it with you, because some of it you might want to, we don't know your situation, but there may be something you want to salvage because you want to put it back.
Yeah.
Or, that type of thing. So that's why we really want to meet with you to look at it. And if in your case it has to be demolished, then that's what we need to work through and figure out how it gets done.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's not an issue. Okay, I'll call in today. Thank you.
That was only two. What's the third?
You answered it, actually tangentially. So, thanks.
Anyone else? Yep, come on up.
115630, Jerry Ida. I was wondering, when you put your liner down there, will you be putting dirt on top of it?
On top of the liner?
Yes.
No, we are not. Because there is no dirt to put on top of it. So, we'd have to excavate the dirt to put the dirt on top of
But
it.
that's what Don Lake did, and, they're still in good shape. They put 6 inches of dirt and they gravel.
Right, but so it's a cost issue.
Yeah.
And, but there is no current cover on top of the liner in this design.
And the liners that we're using are, much more robust in terms of, sun and, weather. And so, we have a 20-year warranty, but we expect it to go considerably longer than 20 or 30 or 40. We're hoping 50. And the current liner we have, which isn't even close to what we're putting in,
Sure.
in effect lasted probably 30 to 40 years, right? So,
Another question I was wondering about, on the docks, you're going to taper it so if anybody falls and they walk out. Will we be able to make our dock longer than that?
no. It will be the current, whatever's in the current requirements. I think it's 10 by 10? Is that what it is?
10 feet out, 10 feet wide,
10 feet wide and how long?
10 feet wide, correct.
Yeah, but how long?
10
10,
feet.
10 by 10.
10 by 10.
10 by 10.
From the shoreline.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
That hasn't changed. That is the current requirement.
I was just thinking, if the wind gets blowing, you're not going to have as deep as it was before, like it is now.
Right.
The boat will be bouncing off the bottom. You get a good windstorm?
It shouldn't be from 10 feet out, right?
So we have a concrete shelf that goes out. So the liner has a concrete vertical edge, and then it has a concrete shelf that extends out. The concrete shelf extends out 8 feet, and it goes to a depth of, it looks like 3 foot 6 inches at low water. At high water is 4 feet. At low water is 3 feet 6 inches. So that has concrete across the top of it, and that's that 10-foot line where your boats are at. It's that 3 foot 6 of water out there.
Okay, I don't have property on the lake, but I've been here to be kind of the chicken little of the group. And Rusty, thank you for your video pictures of the work, because that saved me a lot of time and trouble. I can watch it on my phone. Yeah, and you guys.
I can tell you that the, which committee?
Sun City is full.
Oh, In Focus, sorry, thank you. The Sun City In Focus has done a lot of work, and I would encourage everybody to look at the next installment of their video, because it's going to have a lot
I agree, Bill.
on it.
And you guys have done an admirable job with your timeline. To honor that timeline and to maintain the integrity has been a joy to behold. Thank you. And yes, my head still hurts from trying to figure out how you guys are doing this. Last question I have is, are we sure that we are going to have water to put back in the lake?
Yes, that actually is in the management plans with ADWR. You can request.
Is that in writing?
You can request.
Is that in writing? So we've got it from ADWR?
No, we have to still get that in writing, but I've already had discussions, verbal discussions with it, and it's in the management plan. So all you have to do is write a letter and ask for it. Any lake that you're fixing, you have an allotment to refill that lake.
I'm just listening to the news and hearing all the dire talk about the Fed stepping in, and I was in Oregon when Bureau of Reclamation came in and took over Klamath Lake. So, and you might know about that, Corey. I don't know, but I will be very happy next June when the water is back in the lake. Thank you, and really appreciate the work you've done.
Anything else? All right, so I believe the next, we haven't set a date, and I think part of the reason is that we want to see what progress is made. So we don't want to have a meeting just to have a meeting. So hopefully by the time we get all of the individual homeowner meetings complete, that's probably when we'll probably sit down with PAI and just say, hey, when should our next meeting take place? And I'd like to make sure that, maybe we do it in November, maybe October, November-ish, so that everybody, all the snowbirds return and we have, a productive meeting and have as many people here as possible. So I would think late October, early November is probably the next one. But of course, if you have questions, you guys can always call PAI for any technical, but if anything, it's RCS related, call Mike or myself. We're always available, okay? All right, well, thanks again. We appreciate all of your patience and your participation.
Written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.